The following program is brought to you in living color.
I'm Tony Figueroa. Welcome to another edition of This Week in TV History. Now, you can check out my blog, childoftelevision.blogspot.com, or you can hear me on TV Confidential, a radio talk show about television with host Ed Robertson. A lot of times you'll hear me, Ed, and my beautiful wife, Donna Allen Figueroa, as we talk about TV history, and we do some celebrity interviews and cover a wide variety of subjects, all things television. Well, today's milestone is the greatest American hero. It turned 40, March 18th, 1981. The show premiered. And I got to tell you something. When I was 7 years old, my Halloween costume was Superman. And today we would say that it was screen accurate, right? It had the blue, it had the perfect logo, it had the cape, yellow belt, and there was a thing on the shirt tail. Now, you couldn't see it if you wore the costume, you would tuck that part in. But on the shirt tail, it said, "Remember, this suit can't make you fly. Only Superman can fly." Now, I remember showing that to my friends, 7-year-old friends, and they all thought it was hysterical. What do you mean that we needed a warning at this time? We needed a warning. All my friends thought that this was the dumbest thing to have that warning on the costume. All the parents at our, elementary school Halloween festival, whatever it was, they all thought it was a very smart idea that was put there. Well, as time went on, the idea of actually having a suit that you could put on and make you fly and have superpowers was rather intriguing. A lot of us, especially in junior high school, we would get tracing paper and we would trace various images from comic books and come up with our own types of superheroes. And I never came up with this idea fully fleshed out, but I always thought it would be really cool to have some sort of super suit that a mere mortal could put on and have some superpowers and be part of the Justice League. Well, in 1981, that came into reality. We have a show with William Katt, Robert Culp, and Connie Sellecca. And it's all about that. William Katt plays high school teacher Ralph Hinckley, who is on a field trip with his class and encounters aliens who present him with a suit that gives him a wide variety of powers. Not only does he have super strength, he can fly. He has a lot of telekinetic powers, different ways of viewing things. Some of these don't develop in the pilot episode. You discover them later on. The reason why Ralph doesn't know the full potential of this suit is he lost the instruction manual. So that's the whole comedic premise there. He has this super suit, but he doesn't know quite how it works. He can fly, but he has trouble with those landings. So it is a very funny show. Let me first bring out William Katt. Now, William Katt was, after Greatest American Heroes, he was on the Perry Mason TV movies. His mother actually was Della Street, and Barbara Hale. Also starring, before Greatest American Hero, he was in Butch and Sundance the early years. He also did Pippin. And if you're a fan of MASH, remember the first Christmas episode where Hawkeye shimmies down the rope on the helicopter? Yeah, William Katt is the soldier who tells the wounded soldier, and you didn't believe in Santa Claus. So wonderful resume for this actor. He plays Ralph Hinckley, the school teacher. He is partnered with Bill Maxwell, who is played by Robert Culp. Bill Maxwell is an FBI agent. Robert Culp is the perfect actor to play this role. This is several years after he did I Spy with Bill Cosby. By the way, Robert Culp also wrote and directed many episodes of I Spy, and he would wind up writing and directing episodes of Greatest American Heroes. Some of you might also know him as part of the quartet known as Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice. But he was the perfect actor to play the role of straight-laced, straight-shooting FBI agent Bill Maxwell. Connie Sellecca plays Ralph Hinckley's divorce attorney who becomes friends, and then they eventually marry. She is also in on what happened as far as the suit's involvement. She is driving her Volkswagen, and she also sees the spaceship, and she's all entwined in all of this. She came off of a show called Flying High, which you have to imagine this was Love Boat, but in the air. So it was a very short-lived show, but it got her a lot of attention, and she got the show. After Greatest American Hero, she starred with James Brolin in the series Hotel. She was also married to Gil Gerard, who was playing Buck Rogers in the 1970s at the same time that she was doing Flying High. And then later on, she married John Tesh. So anyway, you have this show. I don't want to give too much away. If you have not watched it, you can find it on home video. But the show really was funny, and they did try to do current topical issues and just have the superhero element added to that. As executive changes happened with the network, then they later would focus on more big picture stuff, saving the world sort of storylines. There was a comic book that came out a little bit later on that William Cat was involved with. Also, the show had its run, and there were plans several years later to do a spin-off series called The Greatest American Heroine, which starred Mary Ellen Stewart. She was going to be taking over the hero role. She would also be partnered with Bill Maxwell, played by Robert Culp, but she was going to take off. The pilot didn't go anywhere, so it was preserved, let's call it, and included into the syndication package for Greatest American Hero. There is a web series, if you want to find it, done by people, not, none of the actors involved with the original production, but telling more stories in very short segments, about 5 minutes each, if you want to find it on YouTube. Or, you know what, I'll just post it on the links below. And very, very true. Whoever did this has a love of the original series, and I think is being very respectful to the source material. Now, the show did have one controversy, and it is one of those things that I can't blame anybody involved with the production of the show. It just happened. The show premiered on March 18th, 1981, and you had a character named Ralph Hinckley. Well, it wasn't much longer after that. Our new president, Ronald Reagan, was shot by a man named John Hinckley Jr., right? So if you watch season 1, or if you were watching it at the time, they changed the character's name to Haney, or a lot of times the kids would just call him Mr. H. So most of the time, if Bill was talking to him, he was addressed as Ralph. And so they kind of downplayed the Hinckley. By the time season 2 rolled around, he was back to being Mr. Hinckley. But that was a very touchy aspect there. Anyway, The Greatest American Hero, you can find it on home video. It is a fun show to watch. It is definitely a product of its time. Fun action adventure. Stephen J. Cannell produced this show. And it is the first time, it's the first Stephen J. Cannell production where you actually have the famous closing logo. So that is the first time you see it. He did do a show prior to this called 10 Speed and Brown Shoe with Ben Vereen and Jeff Goldblum. Did not have the famous logo yet. So Greatest American Hero is the first show where you have that famous gesture with his logo. So if you have not seen it, it is a lot of fun. Take the superhero, add the comedy, a very, very talented cast. And we'll talk more about stuff like this later on. So if you have comments, put it below, hit like, subscribe, or is it subscribing? Anyway, you know where the buttons are right now. So I'm Tony Figueroa. Again, read my blog, childhoodtelevision.blogspot.com. Also check me out on TV Confidential, a radio talk show about television. Stay tuned.